once again. Thank you so much for tuning in to our coffee chat. My name is Mary Ellen Wilson. I am your business development manager here at Visiting Angels, and we are super excited to have you on board today. So what is this coffee chat all about? We do coffee chats every other week. We try to find, we find topics that are of interest to our older adult community, and topics range from what to do when my loved one has dementia to exercises that you can do at home, to getting through the COVID pandemic safely and without issues. So we run the gamut. And in case you are not familiar with Visiting Angels, we offer home care for older adults who prefer to age in place gracefully, but might need a little extra support in order to do so. We have offices in Gaithersburg, in Silver Spring, in Edgewater, all of those are in Maryland, and then we also have an office in Washington, D.C. So we really do cover the entire metro area. Now, today, our coffee chat is going to be how to incorporate technology to enhance your in-home care. And before we get there, just a few housekeeping things. If you have a question, normally we like to wait until the end, but you know what? For today, there's going to be a lot of information. So as you have a question, if you want to add it to the chat box, that is great, or the Q&A box, and we will respond to them throughout the presentation. If you are on Facebook, welcome. We are live streaming on our Facebook channel. Welcome, welcome. If you have a question, you can put it into the comment section, and Rania, my beautiful assistant behind the scenes, will let us know what questions come up. All right. I think that's everything. Well, again, welcome, and let's get started. So excited to welcome Neil Tantingco to our coffee chat today. Neil is all the way over in California, as a matter of fact. So as I mentioned, it is quite early. Neil is our connected care expert, and he is going to tell us everything that we want to know about our brand new platform called Visiting Angels Connected Care. So what is this all about? Well, we know, as I mentioned earlier, that I would say the majority of older adults would prefer to age gracefully in place, but may need some extra support. Some need more support than others. But what happens after our caregiver leaves for the day? Maybe the caregiver is there for 4 hours or 8 hours. But what happens to mom in the middle of the night when she has to get up and stumble her way to the restroom? Or what happens if, mom has a little bit of dementia, forgets to hydrate throughout the day? We don't know what's going on when our caregiver isn't there. And at Visiting Angels, we don't like that. So introducing Visiting Angels Connected Care. It is a platform that we are using to enhance our in-person care with technology, remote care coordinators, and safety monitoring. Neil is actually the creator of this platform. After spending 20 years in the healthcare and technology industry, Neil started his own assisted living agency. Through that process, he determined that, wow, there's got to be a better way. We need additional support when we're not physically in the home, and that is how Connected Care was born. So Neil, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And let's just jump right in. And I would love for you to just give us, in layman's term, what is Visiting Angels Connected Care? What is the platform all about?
Well, great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And you're right, I am just barely waking up, but I'm really excited to be here. So yes, so this program, we're super excited about, the Visiting Angels Connected Care. The point of the service is to fill that gap, as what Mary Ellen had mentioned. everybody deserves, the level of care that they could afford. But unfortunately, not everybody can afford 24/7 care. So as Mary Ellen had mentioned, what if they can only afford 4 hours or 6 hours? And once those 4 hours are done, as an example, what happens next, right? What happens next is the worry begins, right? So
Mhm.
all these thoughts will start running through your mind, and so that's where we fill that gap. And the way we do that is a couple of things. Number one, we are going to first customize or work with the care plan that Visiting Angels has already put together, right? But we're going to make it better because
Mhm.
we're going to provide a care plan when the caregiver is not at the premises, right? Because we're going to be there. So once we design the care plan, we are then going to assign a live 24/7 remote care coordinating team. It's going to be live people. You get to see them, you get to talk to them on the phone, but they're going to be your loved one's best friend, right? Or assistant, whatever you want to call them. But anyway,
Okay.
they're specially trained to keep loved ones from going to the hospital or keeping them safe at home. All right. But so once the care coordinators are assigned to your loved one, we then set them up with what we call the appropriate technology platform, and it comes in many forms, and it depends on really the preference of your loved ones. Right. So lately, we've been seeing a lot of older adults using smartphones. We see them updating their Facebook. We see them interacting in social media, sending pictures, and so forth. So for those folks, we would provide them an app that we would walk them through to install the app. It's really easy. So if they're using an iPhone or using an Android or a tablet, we have a way to easily install the app. But if they have a computer, we can do it that way too. But maybe in the beginning, they're not used to technology. Oftentimes, we start with a phone call, and then when the timing's right, when we ease them to the other advanced technology, right?
So, first off, what I love so much about this program is the fact that we are marrying a live person with technology. But that brings up a question. So, this live remote, so they're remote, they're not in the home, care coordinator, does she have a camera? He or she have a camera that's watching things? How does this work?
Well, so we're going to employ several technologies again based on the comfort level of the senior and the loved ones, right? So at the bare minimum, we have to have means to communicate with the adult children, and so when if they're using a smartphone, that's going to be our primary mode of communication, right? And the smartphone with the app built in there, it'll ask, let's say they have a chronic ailment or things that need to be reminded. We would actually send the information through their app and ask them, hey, Mary Ellen, I know we know you have congestive heart failure. Is your leg swollen today? Right? And how's your breathing? Do you feel any dizziness? Right? And they would just simply answer the questions on the app, and then that information is received by us. Right? And then we can also prompt them to take their vitals. Right? Maybe we need to measure their weight. Maybe we need to measure blood pressure. That could be inputted into the app as well. But anyway, all that data is sent to us, and once it's received by us, by the remote care coordinator, they'll know when things are outside the normal range or something disconcerting. And if there's any kind of red alerts or any type of alerts, we would contact the patient or the adult senior through their smartphone, right? In this example,
Right?
right? We would call them live on video. It would, just like the way it rings on your phone, it'll ring and have a distinct ring, and they have to click on the accept. And only when they click on the accept, when we would pop up on the screen, and that's how we're able to communicate with the patient. So there's
And I
no
think, if I may interject, and I think it's very important for our clients to understand that no, we don't have cameras that are watching every move, because I think people are very leery of having cameras set up in their home. So I just wanted to make that clear that, again, it's that marriage of technology and a live care coordinator she sees something based on the information sent to her or him, sorry,
Mhm.
and so a phone call is placed.
That's right.
And then well, you continue.
Yeah.
Continue. I don't need to explain it for you.
Yeah, so one more point. So we actually we have two technologies that we are introducing as part of the Visiting Angels Connected Care. So that form of technology is what we call telehealth, right? It's designed to manage and monitor the patient's chronic ailments or whatever dispositions they have. Maybe they have a skin tear that from a recent fall, or maybe they have COVID, or maybe they have a flu or whatever it may be. So the remote care coordinator will continuously personalize that telehealth. So based on their current ailment or current condition, we're gonna make sure that we track that until they're feeling better, or don't let matters exacerbate, right? But the other
So
technology
it's
we're
fluid, so that could change over time.
oh, absolutely
Maybe this week there's this issue, but next week is something else that
yes,
we can monitor. So it's very
absolutely.
fluid.
That's why there's a remote care coordinator involved, because we're going to continue to get feedback, not just from the loved ones, not just from the adult children, but also from the caregiver. And that constant input will allow us to, again, personalize that telehealth based on the patient's or the client's uh, situation. But the other
Terrific.
technology we're going to introduce later on, but we also have means to track falls, to track wandering, to track maybe perhaps or monitor if the faucet's been left on or the stove was left on and it's already 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's another form of technology that we are that we can also provide for your loved ones. So this way, maybe in the middle of the night, they have fallen and maybe their pendant is in the other side of the room, right? So the second we recognize those issues, a live person would call. If nobody picks up, we follow the protocol, and if necessary, we can call 911. But the point is, we want to keep your loved ones safe, and that's why we're excited to be partnering with Visiting Angels.
Thank you. We are so excited too. So you mentioned, and I think I want to just dive right into that, the safety monitoring part of it, because you mentioned, God forbid somebody falls in the middle of the night or any time of day. Um, so how does that work? How does the remote care coordinator know to call?
Right. Great question, Marilyn. So, as I'm not sure if Marilyn mentioned, but I own an assisted living in California as well. And many of our residents have one of those purse devices or just little fall buttons that it's wrapped around their neck. Those are fantastic, right? But unfortunately, they only work 40% of the time. And
Yeah,
a lot of times they like to take them off in the middle of the night. And that's where the trouble begins, right? They take it out,
yeah,
they put it on
yeah.
top of the drawer, and then they have to use the restroom, and that's where the fall happens, right? Or they
And we
decide,
find that they don't like wearing them, quite
"Oh,
frankly, because it's kind of an ageist thing.
exactly,
You
exactly.
know,
So that too, or sometimes when they do fall, they forget that they have it around their neck, or the button is on the
mm,
behind them and they can't reach it. So, but it works if in certain situations. So we design a fall safety monitoring system where we put these non-intrusive sensors, right? They
sensors. Okay.
yeah, they're motion sensors. There's a sensors that will go on the door. There are sensors that would help identify if there's any leak on the floor. There's sensors that would actually allow us to identify if the stove has been left on and it's, let's say, already late at night. So we can add or remove these devices or peripherals based on the environment of your loved one. And then, but anyway, once it's received, we these sensors capture data on an ongoing basis. There's no wearable involved. They can just walk through the wall of the room. They could be washing, the dishes, but we're gonna monitor them. But we're not gonna monitor them like a camera would. But the beauty about the system is if there is a fall, we're gonna get an alert immediately, right? And we're gonna call the person live on the phone
Mhm.
to see if it's a false alert. And if it is a false alert, then or maybe they've gotten up already and they're not hurt, then we'll make a note that, hey, Mrs. Smith has fallen. But the beauty about the system too is that it'll identify wandering. So maybe perhaps your loved one is already showing signs of early stages of Alzheimer's, and let's say the door at 2 o'clock in the morning is open for some reason. We're
Mhm.
going to get an alert, right? That shouldn't be that shouldn't be there. Or maybe we notice that grandma is out and about in the middle of all throughout the home at 2 o'clock in the morning, and which may explain why she's sleeping all day. right? So we can garner a lot of cool data out of this non-intrusive sensors. But the beauty about the sensor is that it has what we call machine learning and artificial intelligence. It's not a robot. It's not a some kind of space-age system, but this technology has been around for a while. But it actually tracks the patterns and behaviors of your loved one. So I'll give you a
Huh.
great example. So let's say grandma is normally up in the morning at 7 a.m.
Mhm.
making breakfast, making coffee. But however, if today it's 12 noon, but grandma's still in bed, we're going to get an alert because that's unusual, right? There's got to be
Right.
something going on with grandma. So that would prompt a remote care coordinator to call grandma, just check on to see how things are, right? So there's a lot of cool things that
Yeah.
are that part of this, but the best part is that the aging senior uh, doesn't know that they're being monitored.
Right.
Uh,
So, and what I love about that is, we have a sort of a fail safe check in place when our caregivers arrive, right? If the caregiver arrives and no one's answering the door, we know that there's an issue and we can escalate. But if service is only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday through Friday, what happens on Saturday? What happens on Sunday? So I really do love that aspect of it as well. But let's go back and let's talk about, let's say my dad was hospitalized maybe for COPD or yeah. And so now he's discharged back home. We do have in-home care with visiting angels, of course, but we only have it, say, 4 days a week. So how would this benefit a client who does have a condition like COPD, for example? Talk us through that.
Oh, we often get patients with multiple chronic conditions. A lot of them are
Mhm.
coming out of the hospital. A lot of them due to recommendation of the physician. Yeah. So when a client comes under our care, again, number one, we're going to assign a remote care coordinator, and that care coordinator will then personalize a what we call a pathway, and the pathway in this situation will be COPD. So on a regular basis, the app on the phone, or if the RCC would just call in at a specific time, will be prompted to answer COP specific questions, right? It'll
Mhm.
ask about breathing. Do you have your oxygen on? Do you feel any dizziness, right? And so anyway, so the data that we capture will then allow us to determine whether things are in line or not in line. And if they're not in line, or things are showing signs of maybe trouble, then that would prompt a call for sure by the remote care coordinator. And if they're using their app, we'll see them live on video. And the beauty about using the app through video calling, because we can see that they're leaning forward. For us, it's a sign that they could be having signs of trouble breathing, right? We can see that they don't have their
Right.
oxygen on right? Because oftentimes the tube is sticking out on the wrong side. Believe it or not, some of them forget to even turn it on, and so we the video calling is very very powerful. So that's number one.
Awesome.
We're gonna uh, uh, continue to collect the data using the telehealth app, but also during those days that there is no caregiver at the premises, our RCC or remote care coordinators will call during those times that there's no caregiver. So as
Mhm.
Mary Ellen had mentioned, let's say the caregivers are only there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So what the care plan would be, the RCC will then call Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday because there's no caregiver at the premises. We'll call in, we'll check on how the grandma's doing. We will make sure that we're going to ask if we want, we can ask those questions, but we're also going to ask other things other than just clinical or health matters. Now we're going to ask, hey, what's the plan for the day? And are you ready for your visitors coming next week? Did you get your shot already? So things like that. That would help
Right.
connect with the loved ones, but also help with social isolation, which we're seeing more often. Right. If we're not
So
going to add one more
true.
thing, Marilyn, the system comes with over 125 pathways. So if they have congestive heart failure, diabetes, cancer, pneumonia, right? It's already pre-built in the system, and because we've been doing this for quite a while.
Love it. All right. So a couple of interesting points. Um, first off, Visiting Angels is the only company in Maryland at this time, and DC, who has this platform. So we're really kind of excited about that as well. And what the question that I've been getting as I've been talking to our clients about this system is, ooh, how much is that going to cost? And so let's just rip the Band-Aid off and let you know it is so affordable because you're adding it to your hourly rate of live care. So for example, if you have 20 hours of care per week at X amount of dollars per 20, for each of those 20 hours, then you would add $2 or $3, depending on the package that you pick. It's going to be anywhere from $2, which is the majority, up to $6 when it is the full Monty. So extremely affordable when you build it onto your live caregiving. And so, Neil, here's another question that I would like to ask, because I know if you're savvy, it's going on in your head. Why would I need a live caregiver if I could just do all remote?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, we often get that, and yeah, the the efficacy of the program is so much more effective when you have the live and virtual caregiving working side by side, right? And because the virtual caregiving program can only do so much remotely, right? You're still going to need those physical assistants.
Yeah.
Maybe for now you're just going to need 4 hours, and then for the balance of the day, you provide this hybrid approach of adding on the connected care component. So you're getting the right level of physical care, or whatever you can afford of physical care, but you have that sense of comfort that somebody keeping an eye and monitoring your loved one around the clock, right? I also failed to mention I also own a private duty company, and we charge anywhere from $11,000 to $15,000 a month for live 24/7 care.
Yeah.
Not many people can afford that, and that's why we're seeing a lot of folks jumping into this program, because for just that little amount of more that Marianne had mentioned, you're not just getting the physical care that you need, but now you're getting that 24/7 coverage that, uh, that,
Absolutely.
that I know that's going to keep everyone sleeping well at night.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that so many of our clients have older adult children who live out of town, who live in another state or far away, and who really do worry when the caregiver leaves, mom lives by herself, what really is going on. So I think that that is a great point, that, we don't live in a bubble. We're not going to be just a tech platform. It really is that marriage of live and then enhanced care to cover the whole 24 hours. Let's see, I think we have a question. So let me ask real quick. Is the app available for smart watches as well? What a great question.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. So the for our false safety monitoring, yeah. So there is a smartphone component. Not many seniors have, smart watches. Is that the
Yeah.
question? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Apple Watch,
the
for
smartwatch, the
example.
Apple Watch or the Samsung Watch. Yeah. So we do have an app that would be that is installed on the the smartwatch, right? And
Mhm.
the reason why actually like the smartwatch is that now we can monitor the client outside the comfort of their home, right? So now we can
Okay,
check
take it with them. Yeah.
with them, and then there is a panic button that they would press on the side, and that would prompt a call by the RCC, or remote care coordinator. They could be lost,
Wow.
they could have fallen or injured themselves, but yes, the RCC will be there also to track them down.
So it sounds like with a smart watch, so to speak, there's even a couple of enhanced features at that point.
Right.
But it does actually bring up another good question. How tech savvy does our client need to be in order to take advantage of this program?
Okay, well, we'll start off with the telehealth or
Yeah.
the telehealth program. So again, that's the one that's going to monitor the chronic ailments and chronic conditions. It'll also be the one reminding them to help them remind to take, let's say, their medication or turn off the stove or lock the doors or elevate their legs because they have maybe starting signs of edema. Anyway, so the app, so if it's on the smartphone, it's very intuitive, right? So it'll chime, the app will pop up, and you just answer the questions. It'll just literally ask the questions. Do you have any dizziness? And you click on yes or no, and click on submit, and now the data is captured, right? So for folks who are comfortable using their smartphone, it's very intuitive, right? Now, however, for patients who don't have a smartphone, right, that's why we have the remote care coordinators who can call into the patient's home, right? We'll just call them the traditional way of the telephone. Now, instead of the app asking the questions, it'll be the RCC asking those questions, but we ask it in a conversational way. We're not going to interrogate them. It's like, okay, question one is this, question two is this. Now we're going to ease it in, as part of our outreach, so that way we can obtain the data and help us determine everything if something's triggered or not. All right, so that's one. Now, on the false safety monitoring, there is nothing. I mean, they just going to do their out and about days, right? So it's just a motion sensor monitoring
Right.
their motion. You don't
They don't even know it's there.
you don't have to, yeah, they don't have to do cartwheels to trigger it. They just need to do what they just normally do, and the system will do capture data and determine if there's anything that's troubling.
Okay.
Right? No training at all for false alarm.
Great. Okay, so a question did come in that I have. I think it came in. I texted it. It came in off of Facebook. What happens if something happens to my mom? What happens if something happens? I guess what happened? I guess they want to know what should mom fall or wake up, not feeling well.
Yeah, excellent question. So yeah, so when a client comes under our care, we need to flush that out well in advance, right? So that's part of the customization of the care plan. But within the care plan, we need to determine the escalation process. So we need to know that in advance, right? So some of the family members, they prefer to be the first escalation point. I know we have clients here where their loved ones are too far away. They prefer to have the neighbor next door to be notified first, right? So we're going to know that in advance. So the second we get an alert and if it is an issue, we're already going to know in advance on our system who to call first, right? And we prefer about three names at the bare minimum. So this way, if we can't get a hold, contact number one, we call number two, the number three, and we start over again. And if we still can't get a hold of anybody, then we may have to call 911 just to make sure that everything's okay, right?
Okay.
So those are flushed out in advance.
Awesome. All right. And do I have to have internet access for this to work?
Yeah. So well, for the telehealth program, right? Again, if we just going to use the telephone to contact the adult senior, then obviously we just need a telephone to be able to do that. But to take advantage of the smartphone or the tablet, that has to have internet, either through the data plan through your carrier or through Wi-Fi, right? The false safety does have to have internet. So that's how the data will be captured, but to get the data to reach to us, we need to have that connectivity. Now we do have an option where we include the data plan, but obviously that's only going to raise the rate.
Right.
We didn't have to pay for the internet on your behalf. It's better that you pay for the internet. And right now there's a lot of senior programs where they do lower the internet rate. So I would recommend that.
This is a question for me, actually. I just thought of a question. So does the client or the client's family receive any kind of report on a monthly basis? Is
Yeah,
that something that we can set up for them?
absolutely. So that's also part of the, again, that's part of the customization of the care plan.
Mhm.
We're obviously going to go, we're going to, let's say we completed an incident. Let's say we found out that grandma fell but however, she's okay. Right. So at the end of that incident, once we find out she's okay and we've already escalated to the necessary people, we then create a incident report. And an incident report will summarize what triggered the event, what we did about it, and then lastly, it'll say, who do we pass the information through. Then once we craft that incident report, we then send it to the appropriate contacts who are authorized receiving this information, right? And the good news, all this information is captured in our system, which which the family members can have access to, who's obviously authorized. This way, they can retrieve the chart notes at their own leisure. But if they want, again, you're going to get the same remote care coordinator all the time. And believe me, over time, you're going to call them by name, and you're going to get to know
They
each other.
become friends. That's so
You
nice.
can just call
Yep.
the hey RCC, could you run a report for me, right? And for this, and we'll just run the report. In fact, we do that all the time because part of our job is we have what we call the weekend check-in program. So every Thursday for all of our clients, we ask 4 additional questions. We ask them if they have enough meds to last them to the weekend, enough supplies, how they feeling going into the weekend. We also ask if they have any upcoming doctor's appointments. And if they say yes to any of those, we have a whole process that kicks in. So that way we refill that medication. We replenish their supplies, let's say the refrigerator, right? But if they say, yes, I do have a doctor's appointment, we're going to make sure that they have a ride to the appointments, because a lot of times most appointments are being missed because of the lack of transport. So we'll work with you along with visiting angels to make sure that they meet that appointment. But above all, on the day of the appointment, all the information that we've captured through the telehealth, we're going to fax that to the physician's office. So now the doctor will see all the results that we've been capturing, let's say about the chronic ailments. And if we've been capturing their vitals, they're going to see all that data as well. So now the doctor will be relying on empirical data, right? More than data, other than just
Right.
coming out of your loved one.
Rather than anecdotal. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, tell us how this benefits, by the way, these are just some reviews. Tell us how this will benefit our clients. How does this benefit them? What is the nutshell, in a nutshell?
Well, then the nutshell, as I mentioned in the beginning, everybody deserves the care that they want, right? But unfortunately, not everybody has infinite supply of money, and so we can only work with your budget, right? So that's why we love working with visiting angels, right? They're going to provide you the right amount of physical care, based on your budgetary constraints. But for just a little bit more, now we're going to provide that around the clock monitoring, right? That's going to provide that peace of mind that somebody will continuously look out for my loved one, even though there's nobody is at the premises. And I love what you have here on the slide here, Mary Ellen, because this is exactly what happened with. I'm gonna look at the one in the middle here. Christy, when she came under our care, she was out of Missoula, Montana. She used to average 1 to 2 ER visits per week, right? And so she lived alone at home. She didn't want any caregivers at first, and because she was a little bit, she felt conscious about her weight. She had multiple chronic conditions, but she was also very lonely. And so she came under our care. In the beginning, she didn't want any technology, so we started off with just a phone call. A remote caregiver would call in the morning, and one would call her at night, just to keep her company. And then over time, we encouraged her to use her smartphone, because she had one, but she wasn't really using it. So we installed the app on her phone, and then we started talking to her through video calling. And then that's when the connection started building. We started asking those chronic ailment issues. She started letting us know, but over time she started answering on her own. Over time she started capturing her own vitals, right? But the best part about it is that before she didn't want any caregivers, right? But when we introduced her through through the video calling, and she found out how friendly this person is and how she could relate with her. She allowed this caregiver to show up at her home, and now she is thriving at home. The funny part of the story is that the hospitals who were used to seeing her every week, they thought that she had passed away. So they asked us, where they can send the flowers, and they said, no, she hasn't passed away. She's thriving at home. In fact, she has.
Thriving at home.
In
And
fact,
after all, isn't that what we all want, to
yeah,
thrive to the
and
extent
has a
possible at
volunteer calling
home?
her, right? Yeah, she's doing great at home, and now she's a lot more friendlier, and she's lost a lot of weight because
Yeah,
a lot of
God
visitors.
bless her. That's wonderful. I did get another question texted in. My mother has dementia. How can this system work for her?
Yes. So so we're going to gauge the level of her dementia, right? She could be mildly cognitively impaired, or maybe she's just early signs of Alzheimer's. We do have a lot of those type of patients, and so depending on, a lot of them are still comfortable using their smartphone. Believe it or not, when the phone rings, they know that green button to press, and then up pops the remote care coordinator, right? They get to see them live on video. We have a client out of Utah. She actually had severe brain damage. It's worse than Alzheimer's, it seemed like. But anyway, she knows to pick up the call when the phone rings, right? We pop up. A part of the remote care coordinator's job in her situation, we would actually walk her through which bubble pack to push through to take that appropriate medication on that particular time, right? We would remind her right before she goes to bed. We would remind her to lock the door, or bring the dog in because she often forgets. We walk her through to turn off the stove, right? Make sure that she does number 2 before she goes to bed, because last time she fell, she got up in the middle of the night, right? But now we're encouraging to use the bathroom first before going to bed. Anyway, so we can use the through video calling, or worst case, we could still call them over the phone, right? And so we'll walk them through, and again, we'll stay on the phone and make sure, okay, did you I'll stay here and make sure you have the doors locked. Is it locked? Yes, it is. Right? Is the stove turned off? Yes, it's turned off. How about the faucet? You left it on last time. Is it shut off? Yes, it's shut off. Great. Looks like you're ready for bed. So let's call it a night. As one example, right?
Yeah.
But the beauty about the false safety, we can collect that data without even having to call the patient or the the senior adult. So so we could recognize if there's any falls or wanderings or any other unusual behaviors too.
Awesome. All right. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what your questions are. If you have additional questions, now's the time to go ahead and get them into the chat box. I will say that, here at Visiting Angels, we're just so excited about it, because there's nothing worse than having a family who wants 24/7 care, but just cannot afford it. And so this is, I hate to call it a stopgap measure, but but that's what it is. And but what is so exciting to us, we're in the home care business. We're in the nurturing business. We're in the business of creating relationships with our clients. So when we went looking for technology, we did not want something that was a button that you just push should you fall. We wanted that interaction, and we wanted to continue to create these relationships. That's why we love the remote care coordinator. The fact that it is a live person is so important to us here at Visiting Angels. And actually, I think you should also mention, Neil, the volunteer program that you have set up, because I think this is wonderful, especially in the age of COVID. Did you want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah. So so we're seeing just a growing number of isolated loved ones, especially during this time of the pandemic. And we've noticed that if you don't treat isolation over time, that isolation turns into depression, and depression only exacerbates their chronic ailments. It actually makes it worse. There's even studies that show that it speeds up dementia. So we started a volunteer program because and these are high school students mostly who are
Mhm.
college bound, who are trying to fulfill their community hours. And so they now they can't volunteer in assisted living or SNFs or skilled nursing anymore. So they volunteer for us. And so once we get them screened and once they're HIPAA certified and go through a mini CHL university, we paired them up with their seniors. Sometimes there's two volunteers calling on the same seniors in some situations, because we have some volunteers are a little bit more shy than normal. But when you get them
Mhm.
together calling at the same time, they get really bubbly. But yeah, but anyway, yeah. So we have one we'll have one client here in we have one client in at the edges of the Mojave Desert. He's super alone. Nobody visits him because he's out in literally in the desert. And so
Oh,
he's paired up with one of our volunteers here in Palo Alto, California, and he would call the client through his smartphone. So as the volunteer's walking his dog around the streets of Palo Alto, the he's talking to his senior adult, and
wow.
yeah, it's really cool. So the volunteer can often introduce them to their neighbor, give them a tour around the school, but the whole time the adult senior's watching this through the smartphone as if it's reality TV. Anyway,
Right.
this particular adult senior used to visit the ER at least every other week. But anyway,
Wow.
when the volunteer program had kicked in, he pretty much stopped going to the ER, because that was the reason why he was going to the ER, because he was using the ER as a social outlet. But now he has a buddy, so it's worked out
Wow.
really well.
So many great, just different avenues to take this. It really is awesome. All right, we need to wrap up. I think that we did address all of the questions. I think probably the last question is, wow, how do I get started? And of course, that is by giving me a call or sending an email if you would like some more information. We are very excited to talk to you about it. And onboarding is simple, isn't it, Neil?
It's very simple.
Yep,
Right.
yep. So, any last minute thoughts, Mr. Neil, that you would like to share with us?
Um, yeah, the solution is simple. I wish I could say it's very complicated. The solution is very effective, and the solution is very affordable. Right? Those are the qualities that you're looking for your loved ones, and yeah, I highly encourage you to reach out to Mary Ellen. 'Cause
Great.
it'll make you sleep better at night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My contact information is here should you have any additional questions. Everyone that registered will receive a copy of the recording. So I forgot to mention that at the beginning. I hope you were not feverishly taking notes, because we're going to send you the recording link. And we will be back on March 24th with our next coffee chat. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great day. Bye-bye.